So today we've kind of pulled together 5 non-negotiable steps. These are your sort of rules of pipeline reviews that you can use to make sure that you don't step into those mistakes and that you are running the highest effective pipeline reviews that you possibly can. Okay, so the first step, right? First rule, first step is setting expectations. The message here is nobody should be doing pipeline reviews on an empty stomach. No, that's not why I put the pie. The reason why I put the pie is because of the pie framework. So PIE stands for partnership, investment, and expectation. How often have we had 6 months go by where we give, these high coveted, high intent leads, partnered with some of with the most trusted brands in real estate, and the agents just don't do what they're supposed to. They don't put the notes in the system. They don't call them more than 3 times, and they sort of squander this opportunity, right? Well, sure, we can coach to that. We can work with them in one-on-ones, but did we set the expectations of what they were supposed to do before they ever got their first lead? So if you want to have a really solid agent development system, the first step is you have to set those expectations. Partnership, what does this mean? This is a mutual commitment. We believe that each one of our agents is a partner. Investment, leads aren't free. This is an investment in time, in money, and effort. We are investing heavily in these partnerships. An expectation, just like every partnership has 2 sides, they have an expectation that we keep delivering training, support, and resources. They need to have an expectation to show up, take coaching seriously, and perform. By setting expectations before you even give them their first lead and have a pipeline review, you're really setting the stage for what those conversations will look like in the future. So how most teams, really great teams, will handle this is a signed expectation agreement. This is usually part of onboarding. Some have called it the flex spec state. I know we have a lot of flex teams on here. This is the flex accelerator. Some have called it the flex expectations agreement.
Setting expectations up before you even start to scale your team is like singularly one of the most important things you can do, right? But don't fall in the trap of creating this, having agents sign it, and then never talking about it again. Right? If this is going to be a part of your expectations for your team, it needs to be communicated frequently and fanatically, right? At Zillow, we had one thing, right? There were 2 things, but every single day in inside sales at Zillow, it was 210 minutes on the phone. That number still gives me PTSD, or 10 presentations, whatever came first. If you're going to set up expectations with people, make it a part of your culture, right? Communicate it frequently and fanatically over and over and over again, because this document just existing isn't going to solve your problems.
It should be part of the culture. It should be part of the conversation. And if you do pipeline reviews correctly, you won't need to pull the book out and throw it at the agent on the first pipeline review. But when you set the expectation and do your pipeline reviews, how we're going to suggest today, when you get through 3 or 4 cycles, the name of the game here is driving efficiency. So efficiency means eliminating waste as quickly as possible without these sort of measures in place. They'll let agents take leads for 6 months and then eventually see how bad the performance is. And then what do? They do a hockey stick pause, right? The agent stops getting leads, and that can lead to bruising of the relationship with that agent. That's not really the goal, right, of performance management. Performance management is to iteratively make tweaks and help this person get better. And so you shouldn't need to throw this agreement at anybody if you're doing pipeline reviews correctly. But gosh, you definitely want to be able to bring it up. If you get an agent where you've coached on the same thing 3-4 times over the course of 5, 6, 7 weeks, and they're not actually doing it, that's a good time to pull the document out and have a different kind of conversation. So I love that you mentioned that, Chris. If you don't have a flex expectations agreement, or if you have other lead programs, if you don't have a leads team participation agreement, I like that title better, then you really should have one, and you should consider what it is. So you've got an agent now, they're taking calls, they're meeting customers, they're keeping people in their active funnel. You don't have anything to coach on in the top funnel at this point. But gosh, they've got 40% of their leads actively looking at homes, and they only have 10% of them writing offers, right? Big drop off in the funnel. Well, why does this happen? Well, in many cases, right, the deeper you get into a relationship with the customer, right, the newness of it wears off, right? Maybe the agent stops giving the extra mile. Maybe the agent hasn't talked to them in a little while. It can be a lot of little different things, but I'll give you a strategy that can fix this very, very quickly. It's called the 3 magic questions. And using these are a fantastic way to gauge the momentum that an agent has in their bottom funnel. The 3 questions are: what is important to this customer? What is the next step? And what are we doing to go above and beyond today to earn their business? Now, I want to unpack these because these 3 questions are super powerful, okay? What is important to this customer? We all know what it's like to have a lot of things on our list of things to do, right? Which items get done quicker? The items we know exactly what to do next, or the items that we have to stop and use some cognitive load to solve a problem first? Usually the things that we already know who we got to call, where we got to go, what we need to pay, get done automatically, right? Day over day, week over week. The items that take a little bit more time to think about, right, will usually give us pause. So in asking an agent what is important to Mr. and Mrs. Smith that you met with 2 weeks ago, you're going to see if they were listening really well and if they know what the target is, right? What is it that that customer needs? In some cases, they'll be able to answer the question. In some cases, they won't. In the cases that they aren't, that's great. Now you're having a coaching conversation about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you're going to help them tailor what that next outreach looks like, what that next step could be. In many cases, they're going to know what's important to the customer, but ask them, what is your next step? That's going to tell you if this customer is in the top of their to-do things, the list, or if it's in the bottom of their to-do list.
That question is, in my opinion, is like the single most important question you should be asking during pipeline reviews. What is your very next step with this customer? Because a lot of the time, team leader friends on this call, they're going to tell you really dumb shit, right? The agent's going to say, oh, well, I've got Ryan and Ryan's pre-qualified to buy a condo in Miami for $1 million in this specific building, but there's no inventory on the market in the building. So we're just waiting for a house to come on the market. Right. And like that makes the vein pop out in my forehead because I'm like, you're just sitting around waiting for another agent to do their job so you can put your client in escrow. Are you kidding? Right. So like the purpose of asking that question is because a lot of the time they don't know, and you need to give them coaching on what they should do next.
Every one of those customers that ends up at the bottom of the list where the agent doesn't know what the next step is going stale, right? They are aging day over day, day over day. And when the agent knows they should call them, but doesn't know what to do, and so they don't call them, yeah, that's fine if they can solve it on their own over the couple days. But what happens in many cases is now it's been a week. I should have called them last week. I just don't know how to solve this problem. Gosh, I should have called them 2 weeks ago. And what happens is a pretty significant number of their active leads that show that they're looking at multiple homes are actually going stale and they're talking to other agents. So having these 3 questions with your agents on regularly about the leads that are in their offer stage, that are in their showing home stage, is a really good way to make sure that they're actually engaged with those customers and they are moving them towards the finish line. The third question, what are we doing today to go above and beyond in their business, is just so vital because it reminds the agent that sure, we know how to provide a lot of value in the first 30 days with a customer, but if you're 5 months into the home search with them, you got to remember to go that extra step, go that extra mile, send that extra email, make that extra call, so that way that customer still feels the love deeper into that home search.